over the years, I've always tried to stay clear of issues to do with gender. But upon the insistence of my good friend there, I'll do my best. The reason being, it's issues to do with gender are two-pronged for me. When you look at the setup in the newsroom, there are two things that come out quickly. One, we have fewer representation of female journalists. So what it means is coverage of women's issues is very limited. And then two, when we look at the sources where we get our stories, those who articulate issues to do with women's issues, they are not very forthcoming sometimes to discuss the issues to do with women. So that puts the journalists in a very awkward position where you want to do the stories, you want to articulate issues on women issues and women rights, but the person who was supposed to give you the information are not forthcoming. And then there's also an issue where we don't have a female journalists who have higher positions in our newsrooms. I think in our case we have two only, in some newsrooms none at all. What it means is when you bring up an issue, it's a diary, and you pitch a story on women issues, mostly it's brushed aside, like what Christian was saying. It comes down to the political issues, what's happening, what is Nalaba saying, and then I come up with the issue about sanitary wear. It's a critical issue, but can that story then become a lead story? Will the readership appreciate that story as much as I do? That's another thing. So we also have to look at it from a business side as well, that as we pitch our stories on women's issues, we are also looking at the business side of the newspaper. We still want to make it viable. I remember once we tried to do something like that, where we were saying like our weekend, it's a bit laid back, where we try to include such stories on development, but the readership was very low. So all I'm saying is when it comes to gender issues, I think we should broaden the subject and look at it from all angles, where we are saying if we want this to work, we need to have women in positions of authority who can push for diaries. Sometimes someone can come up with an issue, but maybe they need guidance in terms of making the pitch to the front page. And even if it does make it to the newspaper, maybe it's posted to the Siberia pages, you know, those best pages where nobody reads. So the story is in, but who is going to read it? That's another issue as well. Or maybe I do it, but I'm misguided. It's got lots of pause, it has no information, no one will read it as well. So there are many issues when we are talking about gender where we need to separate from the lack of information, the lack of confidence when it comes to sources. Many a times you see these women's groups, they post something on Twitter, something very, and you call them, listen, I want to do a follow-up of that story. Can I have more information on this? And they're not forthcoming for whatever reason. We have raised this issue many times where we say we don't have sources, female sources, to actually articulate our issues. That's one. And then two, when we do find them and we try to pitch the story in the newsroom, it's pitched against Mnangagwa's rally. It's very difficult to convince the editor to say this story is critical. The issue about sanitary, I keep referring to it because now it has become a topical thing. Everyone talks about it. Sanitary wear, sanitary wear. But when we started, no one was really listening. It would just be like a page filler where you just put it and, people are comfortable with that way of stories. So for me, when it comes to representation, it should be a full package. Let's have more women in positions of authority who can push for women's issues. And those women issues, they have to be issues of prominence. Issues that are important, that people can actually say, wow, this is a good story, not just because it's a women's thing, but something that is factual, something that is been investigated on, that is everything, that's a tight copy that can compete fairly with all the other stories. And then also, we should also look at the women, are they capacitated enough? Those that we are looking up onto. Most of the time, those who are, we only see them. I am privileged that I do supplements as well. So those powerful women, successful women, they've done a lot, but I only see them when I'm doing supplements. I never see them, I never see anyone quoting them in their stories, business stories even. But I see them and I look at their CVs and I look at what have they achieved. They're actually recognized elsewhere, but they're never recognized in this country. So for me, I think we should just look at the whole thing in a holistic manner to be able to get comprehensive results.
All right, does anybody else want to touch on this?
So in terms of within the media houses themselves,
what types of stories are women actually sent out to document in the field, just touching on what you had said earlier? Do they get sent out to the more hard-hitting news editorial feature stories, or are they given the lower hanging fruit, as someone mentioned beforehand? Would you like to?
Okay, so I have a different perspective, just maybe responding to Phyllis. When it comes to the composition of the newsrooms, I also accept the women journalists. But my take, I find that most of the time, by observation, I've always asked whether is it by police, accidental or whatever, that when we talk of gender issues, then it has to be women reporting on that. And many times we found women, just because they are women, being said to be reporting on gender. But what I consider most critical is the passion. Is it there? Back in the days when Robert was still at ZBC, he's a man, but I remember him doing lots of stories about women empowerment, but as a man. But I'm saying as a nation, don't we need to rethink this, to say when we relegate it to say it's women, we have to report about women empowerment? Isn't it a statement in a way? To say we consider it as activism or as confrontation of some sort. At what stage should we have men also embracing this, taking it in the same way that we accept that when we are talking of race, there are some races that were downtrodden and it was a serious issue. When we talk of class, there are some groups, the haves and the have-nots, and we take it seriously. When it comes to gender, we are talking of a group of people, women, who have been downtrodden for millennia. And when we talk of reversing it, do we say women have to report on women? Or we have to take it seriously as a nation to say, those who are passionate about it, talented and passionate, that's when we come to have a story that is well packaged, that is appealing. That's my take.
All right, maybe Conrad will add a bit more after I've spoken from the newsroom perspective. Firstly, Zim says a gender policy, but when you look at there is no woman there, but they say, but we do have a gender policy, and I doubt that many employees and me included, we do know, and we haven't read about that gender policy. We don't know what it says. So there is a problem there. Then we however have Victoria Rujizo, the Ruth Butamocho, and Roslyn Linda. They are doing great and they are representing us, but they can make decisions up to a certain point. Beyond that, it means that we have got no one who is representing us. So we still have fewer women in the position of influence within our newsrooms. Then, like what Phyllis said, we've got so many women's groups. We have many gender activists. But if you get in touch with them and you want to talk about a serious issue, but it's probably it's politically related, but it affects women, they don't want to talk about that. They are selective in the areas they want to tackle, and they are never available. And only a few are available for comments or for discussions, unless they call you for your press conference and you're covering that. And some of them, they actually don't want to entertain questions after that. So it's basically limits what you're going to report on. For radio, for example, you really need a voice. You can't just go and start talking about your opinions. You need a voice. You need to support your facts with a voice. We don't have that. Most women, they don't want to talk about
issues of importance. Then also with the women's quota, you find that we could have a number of women parliamentarians, but they don't have probably the capacity, or they don't want to talk about developmental issues. Then also the issue of profits over everything. If we have an advertiser at Star FM, that person is going to take all the time, and the development issues, the SDGs are always at the back burner. We have to please the advertiser first. So you may find that in a day, you can only get one story, or in our bulletins, and you never find a full-blown discussion on women issues, gender issues on air.
Thank you, Chenga. I don't know if you allow me to speak generally on the SDGs in a minute, because I'm sure the story that we have not told as the media is the economic opportunities around issues to do with SDGs. Because if we are talking about rectifying or correcting water and sanitation, how many jobs are created around that, and also how many companies are formed downstream, and that how many households are benefiting out of that. So it's not just a story that is so much detached from our well-being, but we need to tell the economic benefits even for the country, for small business, for large business, in terms of going into those opportunities. And then coming to gender, I'll tell a personal story that I believe, I don't know if I'm off topic, but I believe it's very pertinent. So a few months ago or so, or it's more than almost a year or so, I've been working with the Swedish Embassy as one of the 16 champions under the Because I Am a Man campaign, where we as men talk about issues to do with gender. So I personally took that decision not because there's some financial or economic benefit out of it, but definitely because I believe we have spoken about issues to do with gender, lack of parity and lack of quality for women. But there comes a time when some men must take the initiative and seek to correct, whether in the newsroom, wherever we are. So I took that decision to say, let me be one of those few men for now, so that we can recruit more men to talk about issues to do with gender. So I'm quite very happy to be part of that group. And it's a group of eminent persons with Dr. Zim Media and others. Albert Nyati, obviously, and myself. That's how related I am. You know, it's not just about numbers. It's not just about pushing the card about numbers, but the quality of the representation of women in equally with other men. But also another point that I wanted to buttress is to do with accessibility of either information relating to issues to do with gender, and then secondly, accessibility to resource persons. As a producer of 2 radio programs, it's not very easy to get women to come and talk, not just on development issues, on general issues, economic issues. It's not very easy. So we struggle. You find that per week, for the shows that I produce, you'll find that out of the 6 days, you may find 1 or 2 ladies coming to the studio. Not because we don't make an effort. We make serious efforts, concerted efforts to get them to come out and speak. But we are having this challenge as well in terms of resource persons from women. And then coming to other women that I've worked with, we actually try to push them to say, this you can do. But there's that stigma that some women will always say, but I'm a woman. But do you think I can do it? We have got 2 ladies that we are trying to push now to present shows on radio. It's been 2-3 weeks talking to them, trying to say, yes, you can do it. She's got lots of content. She's got the depth that is wanted for a presenter of a show. She's got everything that she ticks every box on but they just can't come out and say, yes, I'm going to do it. So sometimes it's also to do with the women themselves, and how do we challenge them to come out and speak and showcase to the world that yes, they are. But some men in here, you are welcome to join us and be champions for gender activism. I'm proud to say that.
Anything else from the panelists?
Just a quick one. You mentioned something. You said, why is it women are reporting on women's issues?
Okay, let me correct. I didn't really say women should not, or questioning why they should. But I'm saying, as a serious nation, are we serious to say, when it comes to women issues, we wait for women to report on them?
Then you are forgiven. Because I was going to say, when mostly bits like development, they're called the soft bits. So normally they're relegated to the females in the newsroom. So no male would want to be seen doing developmental stories. A long time ago, it used to be very shameful for a man to be covering issues to do with poverty, health, and so forth. That's why you see there's a large number of female journalists. It was just like that. It's the social construct that do that. It is.
I have a very different experience with that. So most of my journalism part, I've been for the past 19 years or so a business reporter. We always struggled to get ladies to come and join the desk. They came into the newsroom on attachment. They want to do entertainment, or they want to shadow somebody under politics, For business, I can still attest to say it's still a challenge to get women to voluntarily do business. The ones that have done business, especially that I've worked with on the desk coming from colleges, we actually force them to try business. And in the end, some of them enjoy that, but some don't spend 2 months. They quickly run away. Entertainment.
Okay, all right. So I will come back to you for your questions. So just discussing as the debate is coming up as to perhaps why women are participating, what will come to information, and how we report on these different issues. So I do want to open up to the floor to give us your insights as well on your gender equality and women in media. But I'll just let you give your piece first, then we'll open up to the floor to get feedback.
Okay, I just wanted to say also maybe the onus lies with the editors as well. That they like he's saying that we actually push them to go for the business desk, for the politics. Because I have seen many times when interns are there, they choose the male ones to say, go and cover Mnangagwa, go and cover, and you go to another hospital. So I think the onus of the editors as well to actually encourage the females. How else are they going to learn?
Okay. Let me agree with Felix on this one. I totally agree. I think it reflects on us as a country, as a nation, the way we take issues. Like I said before, I don't believe we take it seriously. If we take it seriously, it's reflected in the way we tackle issues. For example, if we believe that in 1980, most of our people were illiterate, what were the policies we adopted to ensure those people gained literacy? If we accept that for years women were disadvantaged, we cannot complain that they are not forthcoming to be sources of news. But what is it that we are doing to ensure, to encourage them to be part of it? So the buck lies the bus talks with the editors. What is it that we are doing to ensure that women are on the news, to ensure that women journalists take up those so-called traditional male beats?
Okay, so it's open to the floor to give some feedback or questions. So we'll have a few questions, then we'll transition into our second part, looking at how we're reporting on the key issues.
That's an official statement. They don't click with the readership. So sometimes when you put a face, you put a child there, you interview them, and you let them speak and tell their own story. It's grabbing, it makes it real. It's just not a story from a report from UNICEF, but it's actually you talking to the real people. So I think putting a human face sometimes it also helps to actually bring the issues out to light.
Thank you. I was thinking about one issue that we also found at my radio station that we thought we can tackle head on. Something that I also found a bit missing in our mainstream media. When we look at women, we sometimes forget that even during the colonial era, it was the African woman who was at the bottom of the rung. But at the very bottom, there is another woman, a woman who is perceived as barren. I don't know whether that is the right term. I find it difficult to define somebody, to call somebody by a name that defines her just because she cannot just conceive. But okay, we have such a person, and there are so many of those in our society, which I find to be at the very, very bottom of the poverty run, if I can say so, in the sense that that woman is stigmatized not just by men but also by other women. So what we decided to do was to say, to give them space. By giving them space, they are opening up and they are grouping together. And we have found harrowing stories of experiences. And there is also a link even to HIV. When people are failing to have children, sometimes men want to try elsewhere. And it's obviously how they try. You cannot have protection when you are trying to have a child. And there are so many stories around that area. And West Hill, they cannot even have the money to say, even if I want to adopt a child, there are some standards that are looked at to say how much income do you have to say you can adopt and take care of a child. So by having such a program, which was thought of by many anyway, that the person executing is a woman, and executing it so well, we got to a stage where those women have now come to have a group. It's more than 3,000 now, and it's actually growing rapidly, and we don't know what to do next. But they are coming, and they are telling their stories, and they are sharing ideas. They are getting some help in a way. But I would say giving space to a woman is the first thing that I think is very necessary. Let them tell their story before we even think of telling the stories on their behalf.
Yeah, well, that's where I was talking about the Because I'm a Man campaign, where we want to be many men that are involved in trying to stop issues to do with GBV. But however, I have a problem in the way I've seen so many articles being written, just putting the woman as a victim. So the story is always written from a victim perspective. There is a difference between putting a human face and just using a victim card. So how are we balancing? I've seen there's been just that lack of balance in terms of putting a human face and playing a victim card. And to me, the stories that start with a victim card, not a human face, really are not as effective, because people, readers or listeners, quickly quickly dismiss and say, you don't know, you know what women do. They are always crying, they are always complaining, they are always, and yet there might be some substance within the story that people will just dismiss from the way it starts. So I'm quite sure as editors, the editors have a lot of work on their hands in terms of assisting journalists to separate the victim card and the putting a face to a story. I'm sure we have a lot of work. And then again, I've seen some stories with statistics that are quite strange that you can't find either on the UN websites, UN information, UNFPA, and the like. So sometimes we are mixing statistics to do with gender-based violence or just issues to do with women in general. I've seen some stories that have come out and they are mixing these statistics. So I'm quite sure we have some work to do in terms of making sure that the information and the data that we are sending outside is accurate and correct.
All right, do we have any comments from the floor or feedback?
Thank you very much. I think we should also take note that while men dominate leadership positions in newsroom, these men have actually contributed towards positive portrayal of women in news coverage. But it's a fact which we should applaud these men around here. Women have been an improvement in the portrayal of women in our media houses. I'm sure we can all agree on that.
Sorry, the problem with the incomplete statements, we can then decide to reason where we want. So are you saying women should be content with good coverage from men?